prototyping on it is ridiculous. Like you can create some crazy animations on there.
Yes, yes, it's beautiful.
I actually think most of my animations that I have up on my Dribble page are done in InVision. Either Vision Studio or I use Framer X as well.
I think Figma will get there at some point. They're probably working on it.
Possibly. I don't know how focused they are with the prototyping. I think they're really trying to nail the collaborative workflow. So I think doing collaborative with like prototyping may be a little difficult. But no, Figma is like, they've come a long way. Like I still remember when they first started. And InVision Studio. Like InVision Studio has only been around for maybe 2 years.
Mm.
Can we follow you on Dribble?
Yeah, sure. It's I don't know my Dribble handle. I think it's Hello Brandon.
He said, no. Oh, goodness, Brandon.
I know. I never remember like my handle names. I just know that I have them and they're there. All right. So today we are kind of sticking with the whole creative process. I know that you guys have been learning about like ideation and basically the pre-steps to before you actually go into like a full iteration of a design. So today we're going to get a little more into that through wireframing, which, I mean, you guys have pretty much had some practice with wireframing anyway, especially with creating paper prototypes. That's essentially what you've done before, or like create like miniature wireframes, basically just giving you a starting point before you actually get into the design process or the full designs. So I'm just going to get into like a little bit about wireframing and pretty much like the fundamentals and whatnot. So basically, wireframing itself is the low fidelity design of a digital product. Mostly you want to focus on not trying to do too much high fidelity things. You just kind of want to iterate quickly. So wireframes will typically be a low fidelity or mid fidelity in the design process. So according to Vision, wireframing represents three things. It presents the information that will be displayed on the page. It gives you an outline of the structure and the layout of a page. And it also conveys the overall direction and description of the user interface. So you can really think of wireframes as kind of being like blueprints for a building. It's pretty much what architects use. We understand the general structure of a digital product, but not necessarily the fine details. So early in the conceptual design phase, the details are not really necessary. Mostly you just want to focus on getting the layout out and pretty much reiterating on the layout itself. So you want to try to get like a few layouts out and then like maybe go speak with some stakeholders or other members of the team and get some feedback on what you have, what you're thinking about. And then after that feedback, you'll come back and you'll reiterate on that until pretty much until you all come to an agreement that this is the direction you want to go. And then you'll go into a more high fidelity design. So basically wireframes are in pretty much the steps between like having the sketches that you guys did with paper prototyping and like creating the high fidelity designs. It's that in between. So sketches often lack enough detail for us to actually like prototype and test. So wireframes kind of make up that difference between what the sketches start to lack. So one of the reasons why we create wireframes is because it's pretty much inexpensive to create wireframes, and it's also, they can be done quickly. They're also impermanent, so you can always change them again, and like kind of pretty much like I said, you can always reiterate. So like you have a design laid out for a certain page, and then you can always go back and reiterate on that design if it's something that's not perfect or not the direction that the team wants to go in. So some things to avoid when creating wireframes: you don't really want to have too much color with wireframes. That's not really the primary focus. The main focus of wireframes is just to get the layout and the idea for what information is going to go on a certain page. So you don't really want to focus too much on having a whole bunch of colors within your wireframe. Typically, you want to stick with like whites or grays or blacks, some very like neutral style colors. To iterate certain elements. You also want to keep your font choices to a minimum. Like you don't want to have a whole bunch of fonts on there as well. Like typically you'll just have like a few, maybe 2 sizes, if that. And you also want to leverage the size and placement of elements to distinguish like visual hierarchy. And so basically when you're creating wireframes, you'll use a lot of like shapes. You won't actually put in like the actual images. You won't put in the full design themselves. You'll use a lot of just like rectangles and like squares to represent like placeholder content. So for example, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but on some wireframes, they'll have like a square with like an X through it to convey that that's like supposed to be an image. It saves you from actually having to go grab an image and insert that image. Like you can just use a square with like an X or some kind of visual representation that there is an image that will be displayed, but you don't necessarily have to actually like put in a full image. You can also use sideways triangles to convey that that there may be a video. So you use like a square with just a sideways triangle, and that will convey that there's a video. So again, you don't have to actually put in a full video or go find an image of a video that you want to use. So when you create wireframes using Sketch, you can actually create some of the elements out of simple shapes, like we were just saying, so like squares and rectangles. And you can also use design libraries to kind of help you within the design process. That's along in Sketch. Whimsical has another like great way that you can throw in some quick things into your wireframe. So like they already have like little mock-ups for text box or images or videos, all that kind of stuff. And you can just kind of drag and drop those in there. I believe Figma has different plugins that you can add. And so you can pretty much add a plugin to your Figma and use some different plugins to kind of create your wireframes. And I'll actually go through that a little bit later today. When I show you guys, when we kind of do a deep dive into wireframes, I'll use Figma and I'll show you some things that are possible using Figma. But yeah, so we've already discussed how wireframes can be used to conduct user research, but we also know that wireframes sit comfortably between the sketch and high fidelity phase. So, how can we ensure that we're asking ourselves and our users the right questions through the process of creating wireframes? Well, according to Envision, some of the items that you want to ask are like, what are the intended user and business goals when interacting with a certain page? precisely how can the content be organized to support these goals? Where should our main message and our logo go? What should the user see first when they arrive on our page? Where's the call to action? And also, what will the user expect to see on some regions of the page? So remember that wireframes are basically like blueprints. We don't really need to focus on the fine details. Our primary concern is the overall user experience. So how is our user interacting with the design? Is our user able to accomplish his or her goal in the most effective way possible? One of the last things that you want to do with wireframes is create like annotations. So remember, wireframes are just kind of quick little iterations of a design. And so a lot of times when you're presenting them to stakeholders, or if you're showing them to users for user testing, they won't understand what some of those boxes are supposed to represent. And so creating annotations for some of those boxes, or some of the different shapes that you created, just showing like what these shapes will represent, will help out different stakeholders and different users. When creating your annotations, remember to keep them short and to the point. So there's a good chance that your wireframes will consist of like several annotations to clearly articulate the meaning behind what you're trying to design. But by keeping them short and to the point, you're allowing the material to be easily consumed while also ensuring that your annotations aren't like skipped over. Getting a little background noise. Good. I don't know who's not on mute. Sorry. Okay. Think we're good to go. All right. So you'll typically want to include like numerical circles and then kind of order them chronologically from left to right, going down the page to create your annotations. So, and I'll show you guys again different ways that you can do that inside of Figma. I know Whimsical also does a really good job with annotations. I think you can just click on an element in Whimsical and it has like a little pop-up of what you can do with that element, and it has like annotate, and you can click that and just write a little note about what that element is supposed to represent. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much the dirty on wireframes. Basically, it consists of two parts. It's your design itself, and then the annotations to describe what these different elements will represent on that page. So any questions about wireframes, why we use them, how we use them, anything? No questions? None?
Is that the same as freehand or prototype?
So it's kind of the in-between. So freehand is more of like your actual like sketches. So think of freehand as being like paper and pencil. And wireframes is kind of the next step. So you're taking those sketches and now you're creating like the layout for those sketches for your page, but you're just showing them using different shapes. Like you're not actually putting like the images in there, or you're not really putting in like the text that you'll use, but you're showing that text will go here, you know, an image will go here, that kind of thing.
So should it be like a prototype? Should we present it as a prototype or as a sketch?
It depends on what point you're at with your stakeholders. If you want to show like what happens next, so like if a user clicks here and it goes to this page and then you have like the next wireframe of the next page up, then yeah, of course, prototyping makes sense there. But a lot of times you may just you just may show them as just the wireframe itself, just the design layout. just to get an idea of if you're going in the right direction for a design. Pretty much it gives you a direction to go in before you actually like dive into the design, you know, before you spend like countless hours designing.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, like wireframing definitely comes in handy for not wasting your time. Because you'll notice sometimes like sometimes you can just dive right into a design, like going high fidelity inside of like Sketch or Figma or whatever your design tool is, and then you show them the stakeholders and they'll like completely rip it to shreds, right? They'll say, oh, I don't like this layout, this menu doesn't make sense. And then you have to end up, you know, redoing it. So a lot of times if you just show them the wireframes first, just the very low fidelity version of that same design, it can save you a lot of time and a lot of headache. I have a bad habit of not creating wireframes a lot of times. Like I'll just dive like straight into the design, and I've spent some designs I may have spent like a week creating something, and then I present it to like some of my stakeholders and they'll completely rip it to shreds, and I have to go back and redo it and wasted like an entire week. And I'm like, all right, you know what? Let me go back and just start with just a quick little wireframe to see if this is like kind of what they're thinking. And then I'll show them that and they'll say, yep, that's what I'm looking for. And so then I'll go back and like create the actual design. Yeah, wireframes will definitely save you a lot of headache. And so just kind of think of it how like architects do when they're creating something. They start with like the basic wireframe of a building. They'll show that, you know, a room will go here, a room will go here. It's, you know, roughly this size. And then once everything for that gets approved, then they go into like the actual like design software creating what that building will look like or house. So any other questions about wireframes before we kind of dive into an example? So definitely want to get you guys comfortable with creating wireframes before you start to like go into like your high fidelity design mockups. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen so we can get into the design exercise. Well, I guess since you guys asked, I'll first go to my Dribble page just to, if I can remember it. Nope, that's not it. Here we go. So yeah, these are a few designs I've created. I think this one was done in InVision Studio that you guys were talking about earlier. This was for a client that I had here in Atlanta that wanted to do like an event style app. This was like an early adaptation for a website idea or for my portfolio website that I wanted to do. Which I've changed like 20 times. I never keep like any of my portfolio designs. I'm actually redesigning it again. So this was a cool one that I did for, these are all done in InVision Studio. So like, yeah, InVision Studio, like when you get a chance to like really dive into like the prototypes and animations that you can make, like it's a really cool tool. And it's free, completely free. Which is like the love language for me.
How do you get that mock-up one where the bones diagonally and stuff like that?
Like this?
Yeah.
I forgot exactly where I got it, but you can always type in like iPhone, whatever, like iPhone 8, iPhone 10 mockups and just find like free ones. And then there's different ways you can like actually paste your screen inside of the different phones and whatnot. Like whenever you get to this point, like for like a sprint challenge or build week or whatever, and you want to do this, just ping me. And I can go through like a quick tutorial of how to get your screen mockups inside of the actual like phones and stuff.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so let's dive into creating a wireframe for, I'm gonna go back to using Flutter, which again, you know, that's like our chat app that's supposed to be similar to WhatsApp. I believe for our sketches, we did a sign up flow for using your phone number to sign up. So for this wireframe, I'm just gonna create like a wireframe of just like the flow of going from the like the landing page that a user sees once they've signed in and all, and going into like one of their chats. So I'm using Figma. Again, feel free to follow along and ask any kind of questions that you may think about with Figma. Have any of you started using Figma before? Like outside of, I think that it was required on your last sprint challenge, but have you guys really like started to play around with Figma? Any?
Yeah, I played around with it a good minute.
I use it on a daily basis for my UI.
Nice. You guys like it? I think it's...
I like it, but I switched to XD like not too long ago.
Any reason why? Any like particular reason?
Their auto animate feature.
Oh yeah, of course. My only problem with XD is that it belongs to the Adobe family, and Adobe just wants so much money for everything. Like they want you to pay for a subscription for everything that they have, you know, and they're just so much. I mean, I know XD is free, which is good. But like everything else, like if you want to incorporate Illustrator or After Effects or anything else, you have to pay for all of that, and it's ridiculously expensive.
Who knows how long XD is going to be free for?
Right.
Yeah, that's funny.
It was in beta for like 3 or 4 years, and then it finally released as one of their premier softwares. But okay, well, for those of you that aren't familiar with Figma, so this is Figma here. So just a few things here. We have like our frames that you can create. You have different shapes that you can create. This is the pen tool here. Then you have text, and then you can also add a comment. And then like the menu here also goes into like everything else that you can do from creating, from manipulating different objects to like how you view them, arranging and all of that. Let me make sure that I have the correct plugin, because I'm actually going to use a plugin here. Let me go back. Let's make sure I have my plugins ready. Okay, I do. So, when you're in Figma, this is kind of their new feature that they added maybe a week or two ago, but now they allow plugins. And so these plugins can be used in pretty much in any of your designs. So the one that I went and grabbed is the material design icons. I just grabbed that for a quick and easy way to drag and drop icons that I don't feel like drawing myself onto an artboard. So yeah, it's this one right here, the material designs icon. I think if you hit like browse, and you can search for it here. Unsplash is another really good one that I think like every tool uses. So Unsplash is free stock images. And so if you ever just want to put in some dummy images into one of your designs, definitely use Unsplash. So let me go back to my file. And so we're going to create a frame, and our frame, I'll just use the iPhone 10. It's kind of the standard size now, especially since Apple just announced their iPhone 11, which will still use like the same size and whatnot. So this is kind of like the standard for iOS apps and whatnot. So now we have our frame. And so we're going to create a rectangle here. So again, we're just creating a wireframe. So none of this is going to be high fidelity. This is just showing different elements that we're going to have on this homepage where a user lands. So we'll call this the landing page. Well, not, I'd rather call it the homepage. So we'll have the homepage here. This is going to be our header, and our header will include, I'm going to do an avatar. So I'm going to use our materials design plugin here, and I'm just going to type in avatar. Or no, not avatar. I think it's called account. Yeah. So click it. So it automatically puts it in here. I'm going to lock this layer. Let's make it about, no, let's go down to 36 by 36. So we'll have one here. And then we'll insert another plugin or another icon from the plugin. We'll just put this one in. So this is our launch icon where it will launch a new chat. And then we'll put some text here. We'll say Flutter. We'll make that about 32. And then from there, we'll let's put another rectangle. And let's say this is like the search bar. So if our users wanted to search for one of their chats, and I'll add the icon here as well. So far, this is how our homepage looks. So we have a header here that has our logo for Flutter. We have an icon here that a user can go and compose or start a new text thread. And then you have what will be like the user's avatar here. So now we just need to have, I'm going to grab the same icon and I'm going to hold down Option on my MacBook. I think Alt maybe on Windows. Hold that down to copy it. And we'll bring that down here and we'll increase the size to 48. And so this will be our group avatar. And we'll type in group name. Bring that down to about 20. So we'll have the group name here. And then the most recent message will show up underneath. And then we'll add a divider. So I just pressed L to create a line. And I'm going to grab these three here. And I'm going to hold down Option again to copy them. And we're just going to make some groups here. So yeah, this is pretty much what our homepage looks like now. Any questions so far about the wireframe for this? So as you can see, it's very low fidelity. It gives our stakeholders or users, if we're going to use this for user testing, it gives them enough information to where they can kind of see what's going on without us having to actually design some entire screen. Is this making sense so far?
So
Also,
for our oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, Miguel.
So for our assignment for today, we don't have to like incorporate like it's just a rough wireframe, right? Correct? It's not going to be like any designs or anything like that.
Mm-mm.
Awesome.
Pretty much shapes and text. That's really all you're focusing on with wireframes.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Brandon.
And so with this example, this is more of what I would consider like a mid-fidelity wireframe. Just because I'm putting some icons here, just so you can, so you'll get a better understanding of what these icons are. You can, instead of having these icons, you really could just use a circle if you want it. So you can use a circle and say that that circle represents the group like avatar. So you don't have to necessarily use an icon. You can just use a circle and then put in like, you know, you can still say like group name or a recent message here. So you could do it either one of these ways. Like I said, it's as you get more comfortable with wireframes, you'll just kind of pick up on what works best for you. For me, I'm more of a low to mid fidelity wireframer. I like to give some context with some kind of text here and a few icons, like not crazy with the icons, but just a few. So now let's create another page to show where this avatar will go. So this avatar we're going to use as our menu button. Also, like when you see me moving things around, it's like even these avatars and stuff like that, I actually use multiples of 4. That's just how I design. You'll see some designers use like multiples of 4 or 8 or 12. I just think 4 works really well. So typically when I'm moving things like away from each other, they'll be in like multiples of 4 usually.
Oh, wait, I didn't get that.
It's like you see here. So I hold down Option and I can see how far certain elements are from each other. Mm-hmm. And so for me, I use multiples of 4. It just makes it easier for designers and stuff also. I mean, for developers, when they're iterating, just use multiples of either, I think 4, 8, or 12 are usually what most people recommend. So like okay. this avatar here, I have it 12 from the left and 12 from the bottom.
Okay.
Just makes things easier.
Even numbers.
Yeah. Even numbers in I'd say either one of those types of multiples, like 4, 8, or 12. I forgot the exact reasoning why, but it's something that I just came accustomed to as I got into design.
I think I read about this too. Like if you zoom all the way in, you'll see like microgrid. XD has it, but I'm not sure if Figma does. There you go. Yeah, those little tiny grids.
Mm-hmm.
And those represent pixels, 1 pixel each, right?
Right.
Okay.
I think I started with 12, but I've moved down to like multiples of 4 now, just because some of my designs get pretty intricate, and just doing multiples of 4 was better than 12. So with this, actually, I'm just going to copy this entire page over. So what we're going to have is we're going to create a menu. And so the menu will come up once a user taps on this little, their own avatar here. And so the menu will have an overlay. Like that. And it'll go, we'll just say to 300 width. And so our menu will have, I'm gonna copy and paste our avatar here. So it'll have like a bigger version of our avatar. I'll say username, let's change this to different color. Let's bring this down. Actually, where did I just put that text? I think I just lost it. Okay, so we'll have a username here. Make that about 28. And then I'm just going to use circles for this wireframe. So it'll be an icon here. Let me collapse all of this. And we'll do our icons. Yeah, 32 is a multiple of 4. So these are all just menu icons we'll have. And so we'll put text here that just says menu item.
I just noticed one of the things I really like about XD is when you start doing a grid, it automatically selects that last grid.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Sketch does that too now, but XD was like the first one to pick up on it.
It definitely saves you a lot of time.
Okay. So now we have our, and let's rename this menu page. So we have a menu page and we have a home page here. And so now let's create a page once the user has selected one of their groups and they want to go into like the group chat. We'll come up with what this looks like. And so we'll have another header here for this page. And then let me grab another icon here. We'll say, put in a back button. So group name. And so for this, we'll have, we'll do, let's grab another icon here. Oops. So for this, we'll say there's an icon here and we'll have the username. How big is that? 20. So this time it'll be the user's name and then the user message. And then I'm just going to copy these. So we have some messages there. So now let's create our text box here. So it's going to be our bottom area that will have another rectangle. So this is where the user will start their text. Let's do height of just 40. Let's say they're able to put like use like a GIF or something like that also, or put in, I don't know, something fun like a GIF or an image or something like that. They can do that. And then let's also go grab an arrow icon. For them to be able to send a message. And let's just add a few more messages. And so now we have this one. This is called group message. And so we'll do one more to where once the user clicks on the text here, the text box, and they'll get ready to type a message, we'll add just a keyboard here. So I'm going to copy and paste this same page. And let's delete those. We'll move this entire box up. I think I have a keyboard here. Yeah. So we've added our keyboard. And so we'll call this one group message with keyboard. So yeah, this is our wireframe for Flutter. We have our homepage here, and so our user will click on their avatar, which brings up a menu page, or the little menu side menu that has like different menu items on there. So these items can be like settings to privacy notifications or whatever else they need inside of there. Once a user selects one of these groups, it'll bring up the actual group chat, and they'll be able to view the chat here and then also text inside of here. And once they click text, they will bring up the keyboard. Awesome. So any other questions about this wireframe?
Where do you stop with wireframing? Because obviously this keeps going. The user types in the text and then they send it.
It just depends on what you're trying to show to your stakeholders, like whatever you're trying to iterate on. So if you're just trying to iterate here, like on just the overall like view of the chat, then you'll just have just this overall view here. Sometimes you can go in depth. It just depends on which part of the design process you're at. So maybe your stakeholders have said, okay, well, we want a chat box, but then we also want to have like some different icons down there to where a user can add like maybe emojis or images or GIFs and stuff like that. So they'll say, what would that look like? And so you'll do a wireframe that has like, you know, three more boxes down here that would show that. And then if you wanted to go into depth about like showing each one of those, it's really, that one, it's more of an up to the designer and up to like who your stakeholders are and like what you're showing, what you need to show. For what we're going to be doing as far as like Lambda and stuff, you won't go that in depth.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Typically, so like the way we have most things set up here in Lambda is that you'll focus on the flow itself and not these little micro interactions. And so having a keyboard here is a part of the flow, just because we're showing like, you know, the user going from the home page to inside of the chat to creating a new message or wanting to chat inside of that. You're going to get so much joy going from this very basic design to like the high fidelity part. Because you're going to, once you get to the high fidelity part of your designs, you're going to come back and look at your wireframes, and you're gonna be like, I started here, and now you get this beautiful, artwork that users will hopefully love. Any other questions about wireframing or this wireframe in particular? And so like basically once you're done with this is what you'll present to stakeholders to kind of let them know like, this is the direction I want to go in with the design layout. Like we want to have a search bar here. We want to have this icon here, and the group's laid out underneath. And they either approve or disapprove the layout or want some changes. Maybe they don't want the avatar here. Maybe they want a bottom navigation. And so maybe you'll do a wireframe of like having a bottom navigation instead of a top navigation bar. Who knows? But that's the good thing about wireframes. You can always come back and reiterate on them. They're not final.
Would you happen to know how to add a style kit or a library like Material UI?
Here in Figma?
Yes, correct.
Let's see if I remember how to do that. I think you can
just open it up in like so.
Yeah, I think you can create components out of each one of these. So instead of having to so for this part, for instance, so I can have these three together, and we'll call this group just group message. And so now from this group message, I can create a component from that. And so where are the components here? You should be able to
There is something called component on the right-hand side. I don't know. Do you type in this?
So that's the description. You can
Okay.
It'll let you
if you want.
Yeah.
That's weird. It's usually up there at the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even there.
Assets.
Yeah.
Next to layers.
Yeah.
Assets.
Mm-hmm. So
there it is.
Yeah.
And so now we can just drag and drop that bad baby in here.
So normally you want to like have a page that just has all your master components. And then on the page that you're going to have all your wireframes, you just pull the assets from the master so that like if you need to change anything, you do it on the master and then it implements it across all the other boards that have those assets.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you say have a page, you mean like up there you have page one and then you...
Yeah. So you would just make another page and then that's where you would make all your like icons and all the components that you want. And it would just go on one artboard. So it just stays organized.
Right.
I'll send a video just showing you guys on from, yeah.
Right. I think if you do this in Sketch, like once you create, so Sketch calls them symbols. So once you create a symbol, it creates a page for you. It's just called symbols page. And you can go back to that page and just edit those symbols, and like whatever you edit will show up in like your designs.
And those components or symbols are strictly for this project in specific. And what if you want to have a library that you can pull into all your different projects?
If I'm not mistaken, you can like add different components and stuff to like an actual library and then just pull from that library. Cause I saw here where it has like libraries. And so
I think that's paid actually.
Yeah, I think it's a paid feature in Figma.
What we did was to get around it is like if how you have all your stuff saved into your account, you just open up, let's say you liked a button in a different project that you had, you go to that one, copy that button, paste it into the new one into your thing, and then you can create that. Yeah, so that's how we went around that, because I think that's a paid feature for Figma, where you could have like
Right.
your library or something.
Yeah, I think that is a paid feature. I mean, sketches are like, you have to pay for Sketch anyway, so it's included in the Sketch. But yeah, essentially, so libraries is a way for you to like bring in like elements from that one library into like any project, but components are only saved to this specific one. And components will make your life so much easier. So instead of having to like do these all over again, literally just component, drag and drop.
Yeah, that's really, creating components is really helpful too for developers, because we think in terms of components. That's how we build things. We group them together, and we recorded them as components that we can reuse over and over, just like how you can reuse them in your designs. We do the same in code.
Yep, which to me is why I kind of prefer working in Framer X, because everything you build in Framer X is actually created as like components that are written in React for React developers.
That's nice.
All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I'll let you guys take a quick 5-minute break. And then we'll come back and I'll let you guys work on a quick in-class wireframe, and then we'll go over the assignment. So yeah, take the next 5. Let's get a timer here. All right. So now I will give you guys the chance to kind of practice with these wireframes. And so what I want you to do is open up Figma, and I want you to go to think back to your Anchor movie app and just create a wireframe for like the landing page of Anchor. So, you know, your landing page is like first time user, they open it up, and it may include some type of logo and some type of sign in or continue with Facebook or whatever you want to be displayed on the landing page. But yeah, I just want you guys to create a wireframe of what that would look like. And I want you guys to do it in Figma. I kind of want you to, like, you know, take that time also to just kind of explore around in Figma to learn some of the buttons, some of the different elements you can use. I'll give you guys 15 minutes to do that. So that should be plenty of time to kind of get into Figma, play around with it. You can even play around with some of the plugins.
Do you
that they
know
offer.
if
Go ahead.
we should make it in the web or mobile?
Either or,
Okay.
whichever way you prefer. I'm more of a mobile first person. So
For a landing page, do you want like a whole just one artboard, or do you want multiple artboards that have like some type of user flow that you just demonstrated, something like that? Or
I'll leave that up to you. I mean, if you have 15 minutes, I'm really only just looking for one, but if you want to actually go the extra mile and create like the actual user flow for it, yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Then I'll let you guys share that, and we can start going over some of your wireframes.
all right, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that you guys really have the concept of wireframes, like, you know, nailed down.
Sorry, can you go over this like one more time really quickly? What did you want us to do?
So just open up Figma, and you're going to create a wireframe for the landing page of your Anchor app.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
And, you know, like I said, take that time to also kind of explore Figma. If you aren't like super familiar with Figma, take that time to like really kind of explore around.
Okay.
Learn the tool a little bit. So I'll give you guys 15 minutes to work on that.
There's a lot of background noise right now.
I also posted a TLDR version.
Okay, cool. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Anybody want to share the wireframes that they came up with for Anchor? I'm actually going to stop sharing. Anybody?
I'll go.
Thank you.
Cool beans. So I have the homepage of Adam, and like the newest feature movie would be here, and then all the other ones down here that you can scroll through if you'd like.
Mm-hmm.
The menu, or you can have quick links to tickets, do movie searches, and news. This is your profile or your account where you can do setups of payments or your group chats, etc. which you can also quickly access down here if you're messaging with friends.
Mm-hmm.
You have a calendar to see if you have any upcoming movies that you've already purchased tickets for.
Okay.
And then a quick access to home.
Good job. Yeah. You stuck to the theme of no colors, like very, low fidelity. You added in actual icons, which to me, I think is a little better than just having like circles or rectangles to represent icons. They kind of add more guidance. Yeah, I mean, the only thing to remember is just maybe you, not for this particular one, but you could annotate, with some of these icons, like where they'll go and stuff like that. Like if you're presenting this to like stakeholders and whatnot, you'll just kind of, you'll just create like and I think in Figma, yeah, you can do it in like the comment section, just say like, icon, this icon will go here, this icon will go there. Basically just how you explained it.
Okay.
But no, really good job.
Awesome. Thank you. All right.
I'd like
How do
to
I
show mine.
unshare? Stop sharing.
All right, Ivan, you're up.
Here we go. So this on the left will be the main page where you're gonna see the main movie here. Some of the new releases where you can click on and everything. Once you go into a movie, you can see the title, the rating they gave, the synopsis, the cast, director. If you want to buy a movie ticket, you go to showtimes and then similar movies you have around here. And I was thinking these buttons could be a share with someone, save for later, favorite, things like that. You have a search bar in the top. And then once you click on your user picture profile, opens up the menu for more things.
Awesome. Yeah, same thing. Stuck to very low fidelity, just no colors, just, getting the idea out there for this layout. I think you did a really good job. Again, the only thing would be, how you were showing like some of those icons down there, just make sure to annotate them, if you're showing this to stakeholders and whatnot, just so they'll understand that those circles represent like a way for users to share and like and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But other than that, good wireframe. Anyone else want to share what they have, what they came up with? Also, I will note to make sure to keep these because tomorrow we're going to use these same wireframes and actually like prototype them out.
Okay.
So make sure to keep up with these.
All right. Am I unmuted? I'm not checking. Just say yes.
You're not.
Okay. I'm not unmuted?
No. Or yes, you're unmuted. You're not muted.
All right. I'll share right quick. Let me see.
Okay.
All right. Can you guys see that?
Yep.
All right. That's what I got. I just did something really basic and added a search bar. But that's it. I mean, I don't think it needs explaining. It's just super basic. No.
You got to explain it out. What we got here? I see you have the new releases and then you have images there, right? Could you zoom in just a little bit? I can't tell what the bottom button is.
It's not. Hold on.
Okay.
It's not a button. I just forgot to.
Oh, okay. So it'll be text down there.
I was just gonna put footer text in there like 8,000 times, so you just knew there was gonna be crap there.
Okay.
But, so yeah, you can just have your basic search bar here, heading and welcome. Then you got our new releases that will be there. So the pictures will just show pretty much, the production posters there. And as well as here. And I just didn't even know what was going to be there yet, but I knew it was going to be something. I had a layout in my head. I haven't figured. out yet if I was going to like do full photos on the front so it's easily navigable or navigable, or if I was going to add some text to link to rewards and crap like that. So this is a wireframe that's just, getting me started. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point of wireframes. They're to get you started on thinking the layout through, So I mean, you're pretty much in the right direction. You have a layout, and you have it envisioned in your mind. And so doing this in wireframes without having to actually go into depth with the design itself will really kind of help you to figure out exactly how you want all of this laid out, right?
Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
I was going to share mine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Share. Okay, so I did the user sign up / login flow. This is the home page. Some of these sites have like videos at the top, so I just put the trailer for that, and have where they might say where new movies are out and these are the coming soon and this is where the trailers are, and then you click here and it takes you to like a sign up and a login page, and there's 2 different tabs that you can click. You can actually switch. You're actually supposed to be able to like switch between these and enter your information and either sign up or log in.
Nice. I like that you put the Bad Boys 2 up, or Bad Boys 3 up there. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I just saw the trailer on Twitter yesterday. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, they filmed some of it downtown here in Atlanta. I was like this close to being in it. I just wanted to walk through, the background. But I was going to say one thing to remember. I noticed that you did that with an iPhone 10 artboard.
Yeah.
So this is just something to note, like if you ever do design for like that style, the iPhone 10 and whatnot, that there's a notch at the top.
Yeah, so, I have the XS Max. I just threw this together. Yeah.
So like when you're designing for that, I think you have to start like 44 pixels from the top.
Yeah.
Just to give room for the notch. Other than that, you're good to go.
Cool.
Thank you for sharing.
Yep.
We're in the notch era.
Right.
Killing it as usual, Christina.
I'm still mad that they didn't add USB-C to these phones.
But we got fast charging now. So.
Well, Apple being Apple.
Well, they added USB-C to their computers. I don't see why they wouldn't to the phone. It would just make more sense.
Yeah. I actually heard that Apple is doing like their own USB, like these, but their own that doesn't fit anywhere else.
Man,
I was like, are you serious?
Like Apple.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's very Apple.
It's crazy, It's crazy.
JP, did you still want to share?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and share. It's kind of, it's very low level, low fidelity, but it's just the anchor symbol, and then the little nav bar where you can search, sign in, a little hamburger menu. So you can go to like different categories. Didn't really know what yet, but probably like movie categories. movie times, movie searches, movie, like anything movie related, I would say.
Right.
You could probably even go to movie news on there, and then just like list of movies that you can, that's already out, probably now showing, probably something like that. So and just had the hamburger menu just come out a little bit with some text that could be in there. So it's nothing too crazy, but yeah, yeah.
I was gonna say again that's the good thing about wireframes. Like once you start wireframing and prototyping, like all that the thinking out that you were doing there, that is where that will come in handy. So like, you know, when you're thinking like, okay, well maybe we'll have this here, throw it up in a quick wireframe and then like maybe even prototype it out, see how it flows. And if it feels good to you, then, you know, go with it. If it doesn't, you can always reiterate and be like, okay, I don't like that, you know, this information's here, or maybe we shouldn't have this information in the menu bar or anything, you know.
Right.
Yeah, it helps with your first iterations, especially if you've already done a sketch. You can kind of take the sketches to the next level, or sometimes you may not have anything sketched out, but you can go straight to the wireframing phase.
Right.
But good job.
Thank you.
Anyone else before we wrap up for today?
I can go.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see here. So I'm realizing there's a couple things missing on this one, but we'll get it up and going anyway. I think that's the one. Okay, so here it is. It's kind of a little bit of a different format from what other people were doing. It was, so essentially it's just kind of like you're scrolling through, you've got your new movies, you've got your popular ones, your theaters near you, and then you can kind of just click on the movies as you go through. Yeah, so this is where like the movie posters would go. There'd be a little title under there.
Right.
Yeah, that's about what I came up with in that time.
No, good job. I mean, you still got the logo up top, account to the top left, and then settings in top right. I mean, it's always, yeah, it's a good starting point. Pretty much from there, you can continue to iterate new ideas, new thoughts.
Sweet.
Good job. I like that everyone has like their own take on like what their Anchor app would look like.
Fun.
All right. Well, if more, I'll go back to share my screen and we'll go over today's assignment. So I looked and I don't think that the assignment is in the training kit. So I'm probably just I'll share this document with you guys. But basically, you guys are going to create wireframes for the core experience of Newsy. So you're going to choose 3 to 5 user flows that a user may complete while visiting Newsy. And you're going to create wireframes for each one of those flows. And so those flows, again, think back to what we've been doing. They can be anything from a sign-up flow, some type of homepage flow, user navigating maybe to like settings, or any flow that you can think of. You're going to come up with 3 to 5 complete flows, and you're going to create the wireframes for it. Basically just like what you just did in class. So very low fidelity, low to mid fidelity wireframes. You can use whichever program you're most comfortable in. I would recommend using Figma, since a lot of your assignments and things are starting to gravitate towards Figma, but feel free to use whichever program you feel comfortable in, whether that's Sketch, Figma, XD, Vision Studio, or Whimsical. And your stretch goal is to create a prototype from your wireframes using InVision. And so you guys will submit your user flows as images. And if you do the stretch goal, you'll submit a link to your prototype.
Can we do the prototyping in Figma or strictly InVision?
I think as long as you can link it, I think that Figma creates a link to the prototype.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does.
Feel free to do it in Figma as well. It'll be good practice to use Figma prototyping. That's what I'm going to try to use in class tomorrow for the prototyping of these same wireframes.
In the industry currently, what's the most common used tool for prototyping? And most likely not Figma.
I mean, it ranges. So it depends on the designer and also the fidelity that you want. So for just simple screen-to-screen transitions, some people use Marvel. InVision Studio is becoming super popular just because you can do the auto animate and go into like crazy micro interactions. Same thing with Adobe XD. And then Framer is another one that a lot of people are using, but Framer uses like real code. So it's kind of more so for the designers that understand coding as well. And Principle is another good one. I've used Principle a lot. I actually use Principle a lot more than I used InVision Studio before it came out. Those are usually your top ones. I think Facebook has their own called, I forgot the name of it. My mind just went blank. Facebook has they have their own, God, I can't think of the name of it.
Is that prototype? Or is that a different one?
I think that's a different one. I think, or either that or Facebook bought ProtoPie. It was like, it had a kite or something like that. I don't remember. I was trying to look it up. I don't remember what Facebook's is. But
Is it
Origami, yes, that's Facebook's. That's their prototyping tool that they have that I think they make a lot of their designers use. But yeah, it's just prototyping tools are the same with like design tools. It's just it comes down to user preference, like what you feel comfortable using and what level of fidelity you want to show. Hold on, I'm pasting today's assignment into the Slack channel. Okay, should be there. Yeah, that's all I got for today. Any more questions before we end?
They're not required to annotate, right? Because I didn't kind of covered.
No.
Annotate.
Not for the assignment, but I mean, just with annotation, it's just always good to remember that like in your design tool, like especially when you're getting ready to show this to like different stakeholders, and stakeholders can sometimes be your developers too. So remember that like when you just used like some type of shape to represent an icon or something, make sure to annotate that so that they understand that an icon will go here and this icon will do whatever. But not for this assignment. The assignment, you're not going to annotate because you're exporting each one as an image. So there's really no way to annotate it over an image.
I see. Thank you.
All right. There are no other questions. I'll let you guys go and enjoy the rest of your day. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll pick up with the wireframing and we'll go into prototyping.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
All right. Bye.